Okay, I'm going to go ahead and do the review for today. I'm going to go ahead and do the odd. So it says, write each polynomial to determine the end behavior of the graph. So we have y equals negative x to the fourth plus 12. So it's going to be a quartic binomial. The end behavior is x approaches negative infinity, y approaches negative infinity, so that's going to be down. As x approaches infinity, y approaches negative infinity, that's going to be down. So the end behavior is down, down. I'm going to go and work on number 7 here. So the polynomial is y equals x squared plus 7 minus x. It's not written in standard form, so let me write it in standard form. Y equals x squared minus x plus 7. And how do I know it's in standard form? The exponents are in descending order. So we have a 2, we have a 1, and that would be considered written in standard form. The end behavior, as x approaches negative infinity, y approaches infinity, so that's up. As x approaches infinity, y approaches infinity, that's also up. There's a quadratic trinomial. Remember to do 6 and 8 on this page. Okay, I'm on page 2 of the review. It says write a polynomial function with the given zeros. So I have x equal negative 1, x equal negative 1, and x equals 6. So we're going to go backwards. We're going to write it as linear factors. So we have y equals x plus 1, x plus 1, x minus 6. So we have x plus 1, and x minus 6. And now we're going to multiply. I'm going to use a different color. So we have x plus 1 times x plus 1. So we have x times x, which is x squared. X times 1 gives you x. 1 times x gives you x. And then 1 times 1 is 1. Remember, you still have to multiply times x minus 6. So what you have is x squared plus 2x plus 1. And you still got to multiply times x minus 6. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and multiply the trinomial by the linear factor. So we have x times x squared cubed, x times 2x, 2x squared, x times 1, x, negative 6 times x squared, negative 6x squared, negative 6 times 2x, negative 12x, negative 6 times 1 is negative 6. And now I've got to simplify. So it's x cubed minus 4x squared minus 11x minus 6. So that is your polynomial. It's a cubic polynomial. Okay, so we're having to find the linear factors, and then we're trying to find the polynomial. We're gonna find it by multiplying. So we have y equals, the linear factors are x minus 1, x minus 2, and x minus 3. You might be wondering, how did I do that? Well, if it's 1, to move it to the left, you subtract 1. If it's 2, you subtract 2 to move to the left. And if it's 3, you subtract 3 to move to the left. Now what you're going to do is you're going to multiply 2 at a time. So I'm going to go ahead and do this up here a different color. I'm going to multiply x minus 1 times x minus 2. And I'm going to use the FOIL method. So we have x times x is x squared. X times negative 2, negative 2x. Negative 1 times x is negative x. Negative 1 times negative 2 is positive. And you remember we're writing the polynomial. So we've got to multiply times x minus 3. So now I got to simplify. So I have x squared minus 3x plus 2 times x minus 3. So now we are going to multiply the quadratic by the linear factor. So we have x times x squared. X times x squared is x cubed. X times negative 3 gives you negative 3x squared. And then x times 2 gives you plus 2x. Then you're going to multiply negative 3 times x squared, negative 3 times negative 3x, which gives you positive 9x, and then negative 3 times 2 gives you negative 6. The last thing that you have to do is you have to simplify. And you're going to have to combine like terms. So I know it's x cubed. So you have negative 3x squared, you have negative 3x squared, so it's negative 6x squared. You have 2x and 9x gives you 11x minus 6. So once again, it's a cubic polynomial. I'm going to read the instructions for 22. Find the zeros of each function. State the multiplicity of any multiple zeros. So remember, you're going to set 3x equal to 0. So automatically x is equal to 0. That's our first 0. And then you do have a multiplicity of 3 with x plus 2 raised to the third power, which is x plus 2. And you're going to repeat it 3 times. So if I just solve it, x plus 2 is equal to 0. So we have x equal negative 2. That's our first one. The second one is x plus 2 equals 0. So it's x equals negative 2. That's our second one. And then our third one, we have x plus 2 equals 0, x equals negative 2. That's our third one. So I know in the class I told you don't have to rewrite it 3 times, but I'm here trying to prove a point that this is repeated 3 times, and this is a multiplicity of 3. So I listed the zeros, 1, 2, 3, 4. So x times x cubed gives you x to the 4th. That's where you have 4. So 24 has the polynomial y equals 4x cubed minus 2x squared minus 2x. And in order for us to find the zeros, we have to find the greatest common factor. In this case, it's going to be 2x. So you have 2x. And then when you factor the 2x, you have 2x squared minus x squared minus, oh, I take that back, minus x minus 1. Okay? So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to set 2x equal to 0, and I have 2x squared minus x minus 1. Remember the method I told you to factor this one? 2 times negative 1, x squared minus x minus 2 equals 0. So you have x minus 2, x plus 1 equals 0, divided by 2. So you have x minus 1, x, you bring up the 2x, or the 2, I'm sorry. So you have 2x plus 1 equals 0. So the next 0 is x equal 1. 2x plus 1 equals 0. So 2x equals negative 1 divided by 2. So x equals negative 1/2. So that's the second 0, the first 0, and the third 0. So we don't have any multiplicity here. We don't have any zeros that are repeated. So we have x equals 0, x equal 1, and x equal negative 1/2. Okay, 26. Let's go ahead and go to 26. Use a graphing calculator to find the relative max, relative min, and zeros of each function. So I'm going to go ahead and use a calculator. And I'm doing 26. I know I started with odds. I'll probably go back and do the others with you. But let's just continue with evens because that's what I jumped to. So I'm going to type in x to the 4th, x to the 5x to the 3rd, plus 5x squared minus 3. Okay. So if you look at this, of course it's an odd, even function, and we know the end behavior is going up on both sides. This right here would be your relative max, and this is your relative min. So let me go to menu. Let's see if they let you get your analyze graph minimum. So there's our minimum that occurs at 2.8 comma right there. They have that point right there. So I'm going to write that down. Minimum 2.8 comma negative 12.17. And then your max, we'll go to menu, analyze graph, max. Let me do it again. So I have menu, max. So that's where my max, this right here is your relative max. So yeah, I'm going to go ahead and zoom in. So I went ahead and zoomed in, menu, analyze graph. So it's 0.8, 0.8, and negative 1.9. Now, it does ask you to find the zeros. We'll find the zeros, but I'm going to tell you what we're going to do right now. Analyze graph, find the zero. So one of them zero is 3.7. That's 1, 0. And then the other zero is on the other side of the graph, which is negative 0.6. If you round up to the nearest tenth, negative 0.6, comma 0. And I know that it's raised to the fourth power, and we should have two other zeros, but they're imaginary. You don't have to worry about that, as long as you can find the real ones. Okay. So that's your menu, your max, and those are the two zeros. Okay, I just graphed number 28. We have x to the fourth minus 4x minus 1. And I think you notice it appears that there's no max, local max, only a local min. What I'm going to do is I'm going to zoom in. So I'm going to go to menu, window, zoom, and I think that's going to be our local minimum. So I go to window, analyze graph, minimum. So it gives you lower bound, upper bound, and so there's the point. And so the local min is 1, negative 4. And I did tell you to find the zeros, and you notice there's only two zeros. So what does that tell you? That there's two that are real, and then the other two are imaginary. Don't worry about finding the ones that are imaginary, because I just want you to practice using the calculator. So that's the first zero that I found. So here's the second zero. So I'm going to go ahead and write it here. So the first zero is negative 0.2, comma 0. And the other zero is going to be 1.6. Max, there was no max. No local max. I'm going to find the real or imaginary solution of each equation by factoring. So I have x squared minus 11x plus 24 equals 0. So what do I have? I have x minus 8, x minus 3, and negative 8 and negative 3 gives you 24. So you have x minus 8 equals 0, x minus 3 equals 0. So x equals 8 and x equals 3. So that's our first zero, second zero, and you see this power is 2. So that shows us that we have two reals. 3x cubed plus 2x squared equals 27x. You probably want to move this to the left. So we have 3x cubed minus 27x squared. This is 3x squared, so it's plus 3x squared minus 27x equals 0. The next step is to find the greatest common factor, which is 3x. So we have x squared plus 1, which is x, minus 9 equals 0. So you have 3x equals 0, divide by 3, x equals 0. Now, x squared plus x minus 9 equals 0. Not sure if you can find the factors of negative 9 that give you 1. So we're going to use the quadratic formula, and it appears that it might be imaginary. So we have x equals negative b plus or minus square root b squared minus 4ac divided by 2a. X equals negative 1 plus or minus square root. We have 1 squared minus 4 times 8 times negative 9. It might be real. So we have negative 1 plus or minus square root. B squared is 1. Negative 4 times negative 9 gives you 36, so it's 37 over 2. So yeah, they're irrational. Those are our two answers, and then we have x